9 years ago, pretty much to the day, Nintendo shared this teaser and revealed the Switch to the world for the very first time. But another thing that happened 9 years ago was this. I launched my own weekly newsletter. This was back in late 2016, and it was designed to kind of help people stay in the loop about this then new kind of rather wacky hybrid console coming from Nintendo. Since then, I've sent over 450 weekly issues, proudly shining a light on the best Nintendo writers and creators. Now, after nearly a decade of sending a free weekly email, I'm ready to shake things up. But before I get into that, I kind of want to tell you about how it all started. On October 20th, 2016, Nintendo of America tweeted out this now rather legendary image of Mario, teasing what was then known as the NX. Several hours later, they dropped a 3-minute kind of introduction trailer, christening the hybrid console as the Nintendo Switch. It kind of gave us all a better idea of what this machine would do and what sort of games we would soon be playing on it. And I gotta tell you, I was immediately captivated by it. And I mean immediately, because as any person who spends too long working online and in tech will probably tell you, the next thing you do when you see anything like this is you buy a domain and you start a side project. I was actually in the office with colleagues when that debut Switch trailer landed, and I work in the kind of email editorial space, so doing a newsletter about this new machine was like an obvious no-brainer for me. So I bought the domain, grabbed a Twitter handle, and started chucking together a website. A few hours later, I had this. It was far from perfect, sure, but I was ready to go. So I sent a tweet inviting folks to kind of like sign up, and then just a few days later, issue number 1 of Switch Weekly landed in inboxes. And I think this first issue probably went out to like 30 or 40 people. I think it wasn't very many at all. But you got to remember, this is before like everyone had an email list or a newsletter. Like Substack wasn't even a thing yet. But anyway, I just wanted to shout out those kind of like day one OG subscribers. As the weeks went by and we all kind of like inched closer to that all-important March 2017 launch date, so too did the number of folks subscribed, and it kind of crept up into the hundreds and eventually into the thousands. Now, I loved sitting down on those Sunday evenings, curating a hand-picked list of the best Nintendo links that I thought folks like you would want to see. And it's still something I love doing to this day. Now, I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but I mean, this video is already pretty much that. But I also think it's something that's gotten more important as time goes on. Because right now we're in a real kind of doom and AI gloom across web publishing. So if I can play any small part in kind of like delivering the human curated stuff, the good stuff, you know, the real stuff, the stuff that any Nintendo fan would want to see, then I'm here for that. Of course, the elephant in the room with any side project is money. I've always sent Switch Weekly for free to whoever was interested in receiving it. And that will remain true for what's next. But it's a project that, of course, takes me time to put together each and every week, but it also costs me cash. Sending email is like a whole thing as well, especially once you reach like a certain scale. Now, sending the newsletter has never been particularly lucrative, but thankfully, after a few years of doing Switch Weekly, a handful of folks did kind of reach out and kindly email me, asking how they could support me and my efforts. So kind of as such, I launched a Patreon to kind of support just that. And in June of 2020, Patreon sent me my first pay of $157.72. Yes, it wasn't much, but I was thrilled to see that even just a handful of folks were happy to support something like this. In my mind, the money coming in could kind of cover various Switch-related expenses, such as the latest releases, and of course kind of cover some of my operating costs as well. I'm really, really grateful to those who chose to support something in this way, and in doing so, they kind of kept it accessible to a wider audience too. Now, in terms of me broadening the path to a viable income stream with all of this, there's a ton of things that I can try, you know, like affiliate links, YouTube monetization, maybe hit subscribe, merch, and of course a membership program a la like what I did with Patreon. What that all ends up looking like, we shall see, but what I know I can do is a newsletter every single week. So that's what I'm doing. I'll still be providing that value in your inbox with a curated, no-nonsense list of the good stuff, along with commentary from me and the list of what kind of games are on the way and which ones are worth your time. I guess it's a way to kind of catch up and get the headlines without doom scrolling, and hopefully you'll find some great reads and some great writers along the way. I love shining a light on other curators. I find it super rewarding. So let's look forward. What's actually changing then? Well, after 455 issues, I think it is, of Switch Weekly, the newsletter now has a new name. I've been working with a designer to help put a new brand and a new website together, and the result is this: Hanafuda Report. I've long wanted a name that wasn't so like specifically tied to one Nintendo piece of hardware, and Hanafuda Report is just that. It's a name that, well, I feel at least, kind of ties back nicely to Nintendo's past, and it's kind of like an if you know, you know kind of name that, like the company itself, should stand the test of time. So that's my next chapter for covering Nintendo. There's a site live right now over at hanafuda.report where you can join thousands of others in getting my weekly newsletter. There's a link in the description below. And if you like the sound of what I'm doing, you can also support things by joining my new membership program, Hanafuda Club. It's a fun place where like-minded Nintendo fans can come together in a small, by design community to discuss everything from Directs, Donkey Kongs and DDDs. We'll be hosting regular game clubs, revisiting old classics, playing a growing collection of Nintendo-themed puzzles that I put together, doing watch-alongs for any Directs, and much, much more. There's a link in the description if you want to find out more, but I would love to welcome you to the club and send you some goodies too. Okay, so that's me. But now it's your turn. I mean, if you have any constructive feedback about the newsletter or what a Nintendo-themed membership should look like, then I'm all ears. Kind of crazy to think that this all started with this 9 years ago. But right now I've got a newsletter to write, so I'll leave it there. But I'm also doing a playthrough of Super Mario 64 yet again, so I'll catch you in the next one.